Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't get away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he'd like to use the word fruition in the article, it's Arturo Zurita.
I just want a couple of hours of sleep. That's literally all I want after this week. But I'm happy to be talking all of the best movies out of Sundance. We had a break last year. Mm-hmm. Back together this year.
Yep. Sort of a break from the travel. But
not
a break
from the
fest.
Not a break from the fest, but back together with it to talk about all the best ones.
Yeah, back together with someone who'd like to be named Denise. We also got Amanda the Jedi joining us.
What up? Thanks for having me.
How's your sleep feeling after a week plus of doing this?
It's been all over the place. And for some reason, instead of just adjusting to the time change, I've just been getting up earlier and earlier every morning, and I don't know why. I don't know. I
feel like when I get back to the East Coast, I'm just going to be waking up at 3 in the morning there.
Yeah.
But, just start the day bright and early, get to it. We are almost through with the Sundance Film Festival. It's Thursday. I think we got technically 3 more days, and tomorrow they are announcing the big awards. So we'll get into our predictions, at least for that, in a little bit. But we are going to talk about our top 10 favorite films from the 2022 Sundance Film Festival. A lot of really good movies this year. We had a lot of expectations when they released the lineup, and there were a lot of delicious looking movies on the slate, but I think it really delivered.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I've been saying that, like, just this past year, it's been hard to find certain movies that, like, really hit for me emotionally, and it was starting to bother me emotionally, and then this year, like this Sundance, there's so many real standout ones that, like, hit to the point that sometimes I would feel emotional about feeling emotional, and that's in a good way. Really excited, real nice.
Yeah, I kind of felt like maybe there weren't necessarily the highest of highs that I've sometimes felt with Sundance, but the quality consistency was awesome this year. There were only maybe like less than 5 films that I actively disenjoyed.
I had 3. But even then there was still like good qualities to them. So I'd say that I don't think it was a bad year, and I wonder if you guys think that last year, when it was only going to be streaming, do you think that affected that lineup? And this being one that was supposed to be theatrical.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Is there a difference just because we saw them at home?
I mean, we had a unique circumstance in that we got to see them in a pretty cool setup
we
here.
Did.
But you don't have it with that group of people.
Yeah.
And I think that having that group of people come out of the echoes, would you have a parallel universe where the praise for one movie isn't had, or maybe it is, and vice versa?
For sure.
Because of that.
I mean, 5 minutes into Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul, I turned to you and I was like, now imagine this in the echoes. Because there were just been those ripples of laughter through the auditorium, and maybe that hurt some of the funnier films, or maybe, not being in that collective experience changes how you emotionally react to some stuff.
Yeah,
I still felt like I was able to really engage with these movies. I think maybe the quality consistency was so high because so many people were excited for this to be a normal-ish Sundance, and maybe we lucked ourselves into a really good festival despite the fact that there was no in-person stuff happening.
You think it was a better lineup than last year?
I
think more throughout. I'm not saying that maybe there were movies from last year that I loved even more.
I think I would say that there's movies last year individually that were probably at least better than some of the ones I saw here, but I think like collectively this was a better.
It was good. I have a lot of 4 stars. Like,
literally
my top 10 is just having to pit it somewhere between the 4s and then take whatever's up there. So
exactly.
It was not a bad year at all.
Yeah, a lot of really good stuff. So in a little bit, we will start those top 10 lists. Want to remind everybody that if you're listening, make sure to check out the audio podcast, Intercut Pod, on whatever podcatcher you use, or subscribe to the video feed on Intercut Pod, or youtube.com/IntercutPod.
Yes,
follow us on social media at Intercut Pod, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It's Intercut Pod. On Patreon, we're Intercut Pod. You can find our Discord in the links in the description below. A whole bunch of ways to keep up with us, interact with us, and if for following us on Twitter, following us on Letterboxd, you know a lot of our reactions to some of these movies already. But I'm excited to clarify them, get into what is actually in the top 10. You both have your lists ready?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
somehow Honk for Jesus. I wasn't on my letterbox for some reason, so I just had to move it in, and now I've bopped something off of my list.
That's
That's where we are.
Exactly. That's the thing is that you're dealing with so many movies. I find it hard to just even
Yeah.
maintain the letterbox sometimes.
Yeah, like I had rated it, I just didn't make it onto the list for some reason, and
Yeah.
I was just like, it's not here.
We watched Resurrection, and I really liked Resurrection. Spoiler for later. But I was kind of sitting on it because I wanted to write a review on Letterboxd, and then I waited a day, and it's like, oh god, I have to remember the 7 movies and how I felt and what order I watched them in. But okay, why don't we get this kicked off with Art? What is your number 10 best movie from Sundance 2022?
It was from one that I'm actually hoping gets a pretty big win, or I just feel is inevitably going to get a big win, and it already has one because it got picked up by Apple. And Apple picked up a movie last year that might make it all the way to the Oscars. Cha Cha Real Smooth may have that as well. This is the the sophomore film from, what's her boy's name? Cooper Raiff.
Cooper Raiff.
He won the South by big one, and now he's looking to win the Sundance big one. And I actually like this one a lot more than his previous one, and where he was talking about what it was like for him to be in college and really loving his mom. Well, now he's outside of college and trying to make it on his own and still really loving his mom. I know we'll be talking about this one a little bit more, so just put that as my number 10. I think it's one that's going to appear on all of our lists.
Yeah, I left it off my list, but not because I didn't really like it.
He just liked it the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my honorable mention, so I'm glad. I knew that somebody would pick up the Cha Cha Real Smooth slack from me.
We got it covered.
Yeah. Amanda, why don't you let us know what your number 10 movie is?
This one I've been like tossing around a bunch. But I think I'm going to swap. I'm going to go Emergency, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
Emergency was the first one I saw. I saw it backwards. They were halfway finished it when I got in from Canada, so I got to watch the second half, then the first half. But I really liked it. It's one of those ones that's dealing with like a really serious topic, but kind of approaching it, I think, as Art's been saying, from like the super bad side of things, more just like the comedy. And it has a nice ending in some ways, but then it has one of those like these are lingering effects of things that once something like this happens to you, like you're never going to get over it. So it's one of those ones. It's packing the message, but then it's also just kind of like a fun watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great soundtrack too.
Yeah, great soundtrack.
Something moved around on my list, and I'm confused because I have something here that I didn't think I had. But yeah, Emergency is a really good movie. I think one thing we talked about is how when we saw it together is maybe the way that it forecasts its racial dynamics kind of tell you where the plot's going to go, but once it actually gets there, it feels like emotionally authentic. It feels like those moments are real and not necessarily just there to manipulate you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Especially from R.J. Seiler, because as we all know, dude's a star.
He's a pretty entertaining.
He's a pretty entertaining actor.
Yeah,
Wait,
for sure.
What was he in?
Several movies,
GoBots?
such as Power Rangers, the Sundance winning, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and of course this year's Emergency.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. We're joking.
Yeah, we really like RJ a lot.
Yeah.
Although
we were debating what it means to be a celebrity, and Art's very firm on it, and I was like, I wanted to give him the underrated tag, but I guess not.
So I'm gonna go with a film at my number 10 that I think we were debating whether or not it would get onto any of our lists.
Surprisingly.
It's kind of surprised me getting as far as it did. I'm going to put Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, a film that I think from the second that we saw it in the lineup, we've been dismissing it as like, oh, this is just going to be some fluff. This is going to be like, it'll be entertaining, but it'll be,
that was a
inconsequential
COVID movie, so they're just using the excuse to be in a hotel room.
Yeah.
But I think they make so much of it. It's this awesome two-hander with Emma Thompson and is it Daryl McCormack who plays Leo Grande? I'm actually not familiar with the actor.
It is, yeah.
They are both just so good opposite each other in the situation where it's a woman who's hired an escort and they're sort of feeling each other out in both like metaphorical and literal ways. And the ways in which they kind of explore the depths of their characters just remain engaging and interesting and thoughtful. I think they have a lot of empathy for these characters, and it play I feel like anytime that you're set in a limited location like this, it's like it feels like a play. But I would love to have seen something like this on stage too. Yeah. Emma Thompson is just so good, and this is like the kind of role you really love for her to be in, where it just allows her to show her emotional range and how funny she can be. It's really entertaining and probably going to be the movie that I feel most at ease recommending to just an average moviegoer, right?
Which is crazy to think that it's her sex movie.
Yeah,
like,
this really is recommending the Emma Thompson sex movie this year, Mom and Dad. Like, yeah, have fun.
So they're gonna watch it and be like, "That was great. That was lovely."
They might like it a little bit too much.
So
you start
sweet.
wondering that. Nah, she was badass in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that she's really had that corner down when it comes to these big Sundance premieres, like she did with Late Night and now with this. And I'm hoping this gets a later in the year release, because it's one of my favorite honorable mentions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you're number 9.
My number 9 is one that's also going to be higher on one of our lists over here. And somebody else I think just hated this one, but Am I Okay? I thought was a pretty decent movie. This is one that's coming from an actual couple, Tig, and I don't know her wife's name, her partner's name, but
Stephanie?
I know that they...
Yeah, Stephanie Elaine.
Yeah, they directed this one together, and it's supposed to have that type of autobiographical feel, and where these two friends who have always kind of been on each other's side end up splitting, not just in terms of one literally leaving, but one having an entire epiphany on her life. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was hilarious. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I loved the entire ride that we had with them and all the different characters that we meet, the ups and downs, but I know someone loved it even more so.
We're going like this on our list somehow. Like,
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to get to MOK a little bit later.
We do have the same list, just like
just inverted, yeah.
Amanda, what do you have at number 9?
My number 2.
Shockingly, it's the Kanye doc.
Well.
Okay, tell me about it. I'm just glad it's in your top 10.
Yeah, I like Kanye's music. I'm not like an Uber fan or anything, and like I think, I'm Team Taylor Swift. Like he stole her moment, but no, like it was really interesting. I kind of vaguely knew that he had started like as a producer, and it took him a while to build into it, but to actually see the struggle of like making the beat for H to the Izzo and then still having people just completely disregarding what you're doing and your skills and your talent, and then that like unwavering desire to just keep pushing to get what you want from the company that you want it from, specifically like wanting Rockefeller, and then eventually getting it. I don't think the 3 parts is going to be long enough, because that's the thing. It's a 3-part docuseries. We got the first part. And he hasn't even released his album yet. We've gotten like the Jesus Walks beats. We've gotten like a couple of different highlights from his career, but like he's in the process of making the album right now as this first part ends. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they break it all down. And I don't know if it's because this documentary team only has so much content recorded early. They have so much.
They have everything.
They've been with him since
Were they with him? Were they still with him?
Yeah.
Then I have no idea how they're doing this in 3 parts. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Final part's gonna be like 9 hours long.
It should be. Kanye does come out and he says that there's a 7.5-hour doc in the works. He says that in a clip that's supposed to be 2020. From what we know, it's 4 hours and something. Yeah. Under 5. So clearly there's a longer cut out there that Kanye has seen. There's a cut that he wants to have, and then there's still all the hours of footage that I believe can make for an individual behind-the-scenes look at each project that he said. That's why we're so surprised, because I love the intro.
Yeah.
I don't see how you're going to fit the rest in the next 3 hours.
Yeah, I don't get it.
No.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to my number 9, which was a documentary that started to pick up some buzz as it went along, so we caught up with it, and I'm really, really glad we did. It's Aftershock. A really, really amazingly put together documentary. I don't know if this is necessarily like a structurally innovative documentary in terms of like it's not revolutionizing the form, but in terms of the content, it is so moving. It's so effective in getting its message across and in spreading in spreading knowledge of this epidemic that we have amongst mothers, and particularly Black mothers. It's just. I found it really moving and comprehensive in a way that I wasn't necessarily expecting. There are issue documentaries all over the festival, and you watch a lot of them, and some affect you more than others. I think one thing that Aftershock does really well is they keep finding new aspects in which this problem has been neglected or whatever, and it's not necessarily repeating the same thing over and over again, but it's giving you that full view of the situation, plus all these really moving testimonies. I thought it was one of the more remarkable documentaries I saw this year at Sundance.
I agree. I have 4 that made my top 10 list, 4 docs. That and Splinters were in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Aftershock is really good, like you said. I would compare it a lot to Who We Are, which is playing in theaters right now, if I'm not mistaken, out of South by, and where it's just a whole lineage of what happened here, that happened here, that puts you in the position that you're in today. There were some testimonies in that just...
I'm bummed I missed this one. I was working while they watched it.
Footage,
Real bummed because it's. I know that it would make me angry, but like in a good way,
right?
Like in an important
it's
way.
The kind of documentary where you kind of feel like better to have this information.
Yeah.
Hopefully you catch up with it soon.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Very well handled.
All right, I think we're at your number 8.
You had Leo Grande?
I did have Leo
I have Leonor, not dying.
Okay,
Leonor
cool.
will never die. One of the first ones we were able to catch out of the fest. A movie from the Philippines that I was really excited for because it's about this woman named Leonor who's writing this type of action Filipino story that I know is very much inspired on an actual action star from the land, but she doesn't know how to finish the story, and then one day accidentally gets bumped on the head by a TV, ends up in the story. So now you have the movie ratio that we're seeing, and then you also have the like 4x3 old school action flick that she's stuck in as she's trying to write out what the story is. I really love this movie. I know we're going to discuss it a little bit more, but for me, it just hit what all of these big studio blockbusters have been calling meta. Is really just been an excuse to do the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
This is a true movie who said, what if we just did something different at this point in time in the movie, and actually does it. I think it's adorable. I think it's cute, but it doesn't... I don't want that to negate of the fact that I think it's that it's a very smart movie as well. I very much enjoyed this one. One of the other ones in the fest, one that I'm still thinking about towards the end. That poster that you have is cool, but there's an even better one out there, dude.
I haven't seen the better poster.
I'm going to see if I can find it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is one of the ones from the festival that I've really, really enjoyed. It's high up in my honorable mentions. Actually, when I was just fumbling for my number 10, I was like, oh, do I know Leonor? I just love how playful it is. I love how inventive it is. There's things that happen in the latter half of that movie that just, like, force the hugest smile on my face. So... I'm really glad that you put it on your list because
that's one I have to catch up with.
Yeah, it's really
someone
great.
had said that. Don't quote me on this, but quote me on it because it's kind of funny. They said that since you couldn't see it in the Philippines, they were pushing for a VPN for you to use it for Sundance, and that's dope.
Oh man!
But I love Leonor, and I think the whole team did a fantastic job with it.
Shout out to Wiley Todd with the super chat saying that Cha-Cha Real Smooth is his favorite movie from Sundance by far.
Beautiful.
Never related to a movie more than this. We already had Cha-Cha Real Smooth mentioned once, and we will have it mentioned again a little bit later. But first, Amanda, what is your number 8?
My number 8, I'm going to go with Resurrection.
Let's
Ooh,
go.
okay, cool.
I'm not sure if that made it.
It'll be up on my list high.
Oh, so we got a 3 right here.
Yeah.
Well, that's on all 3.
All right, cool. So we can get into that in a bit.
We'll wait. Yeah, we'll wait on that one, but stay tuned.
I think we're at my number 8 then.
Yes.
Which is also Resurrection.
Okay, well, there we go.
That's me. Ask me.
What's your number
7?
Resurrection.
All right,
Yay!
let's get into it.
So we all clearly felt the same way around it in the same position.
Yeah.
I would say 2 things about this movie. It is, in the premiere section, very much could have been a midnight movie of a woman who doesn't know why she's seeing a familiar face that's following her from her past. But it's also a movie that is fighting for my top performance at Sundance.
Yeah.
There is another actress that has her beat. I think that this other actress did not have a damn 10-minute
nearly
monologue.
Yeah,
Unreal.
Monologue.
Yeah, Rebecca Hall is just unreal in this movie. I mean, I wrote in my Letterboxd review that her performance is better than any that's going to get nominated for an Oscar next month.
As a Kristen Stewart stan, I feel inclined to agree.
Yeah,
like,
it's really
so
good.
It's fantastic.
She carries you through this movie. I think you kind of feel that trauma with her and also just her determination in different points of this movie. There's a point very early in the film where something happens and her reaction to it is there's no words, but you know everything you need to in that moment, and it's so thrilling and mysterious, and just for me that was a moment that I was just pulled right into the movie. and it never let go of me from there.
Yeah.
I was cackling by the last little action confrontation.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that a lot of times in movies like this, it tries to keep you going under the like what could be happening. But this is one of those ones that somehow like the more you find out, the more horrifying it gets. Like every little piece of information, you're just kind of like, are you?
Yeah.
Oh my! And then you understand exactly why she's in the position she's in, even though she shouldn't be anymore, because that's how this type of treatment affects you.
Yeah.
It's insane. Crazy good performance. Yeah.
Beautifully shot.
I don't do well sometimes with I was kind of worried that they were going to make it like a thing where he gets a little bit too not a payoff moment, something that would just get so like frustrating that you want to scream. They towed that line perfectly. It never goes too far. It never doesn't go far enough. Like they really have it dialed in for like audience being able to tolerate what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's a very well-crafted movie. I think there's some people who are dismissing just how well-crafted of a thriller it is. Yeah. The combination with her performance, it's so entertaining.
And Tim Roth, yeah.
Tim Roth is crazy. It is
psychotic. Yeah.
Did y'all catch the other one that she did a couple of Sundances ago? Night House?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You told me it's great.
Yeah, I caught that in a snowstorm.
That's probably the perfect place to catch that.
Right?
Which one do you prefer?
I haven't watched Night House since the 2020 Sundance, but I think I'm leaning towards this one.
I'm leaning towards this one.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Night House is a really nice psychological horror, and she's clearly been on that path for a bit. Even last year, directing Passing. But like, I thought this was a standout for her.
She's on a Sundance run.
She's on a really great run.
Doing great, yeah.
Yeah, Ricky also agrees that the Nice House is
cool. Nice House, yeah. And I think this one's better, so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Big ups for that.
Yeah.
All right, so we are at Amanda's number 7.
My number 7. Honk if you love Jesus. Honk for Jesus, save your soul. Sorry, honk for Jesus, save your soul. You can also honk if you love Jesus.
Love him, honk too.
I can't just. This is one that I just threw this in here really fast. It would actually probably, I don't know if it'd actually be this high up now that I'm thinking about it, but it's still, I would say it's still in my top 10 just because like really great performances out of this one too. It basically deals with not just evangelical, it's like the televangelists, like the for-profit churches, the ones that are like, I'm going to show you that I'm wearing a Prada suit and you're going to be happy that I have the Prada suit.
What was it, pastel?
Yeah.
Was it cream?
Pastels.
The Pearl Prada.
The Pearl Prada. Thank you. It was the Pearl Prada.
The Pearl Prada. The jets, the cars, all that, and flaunting it in a way that doesn't make them feel ashamed to be flaunting it. And what happens when like you get caught up in some kind of scandal that starts taking that away from you, and how you try to maintain that lifestyle. Anyways, I don't necessarily think it's breaking ground on anything that hasn't been covered before, but like the performances in it are just so solid, and just watching how people can like delude themselves is always very fun.
My eCam is being a little buggy here. All right, so do you have Honk for Jesus on your list, or is it honorable?
Higher.
All right, so we'll get to that in a second. I will play around with this. And why don't we jump to your number 6?
My number 6 is a little documentary that I had really high expectations for, and there's not even real people in it. Or I will say there are real people. They're just virtually there, in a documentary called We Met in Virtual Reality. This is something that took place, I think, in 2020 when this director who's always worked in the VR space realized what better time than to film an entire movie in there, and we had seen the behind the scenes. His literal actual VR avatar has a camera that's pulls focus, he changes lens, he shot the entire thing within the VR space. So he is actually the cinematographer for the movie because he shot it all within that reality. He then goes and he talks to these different couples, and like you're just, I think Zach had put it that it's like you're watching a regular doc.
Like you could have done none of the virtual reality stuff, just filmed them all in live action,
and it would have been intriguing to see how they're each other.
It would have been just as powerful because these stories are still really interesting, and seeing the ways in which this community sort of comes together around virtual reality, I think is extremely powerful.
We were learning ASL, we were watching some courses that were happening, you're seeing somebody else do a little striptease, you're seeing somebody else propose, all these things are happening in VR, it's endless, and I don't know, it just got really interesting to like think about how, it's going to affect people in the future, because you even saw some people who could afford the motion capture suit, so you can see how they work differently in VR as opposed to somebody who clearly had a keyboard.
They get the whole suits.
So
they're Ready Player One-ing it in there.
Yeah,
right,
with the hip traction and finger traction.
I didn't know they
for
had it
taste
like
and everything.
that.
Oh, you're
my
set.
God.
Yeah, the belly dancing scenes.
So I find it really fascinating. I think the VR just selections, especially at a place like Sundance that does a lot of that, has really expanded, because there were some crazy projects this year that made you feel like you were pregnant, that made you feel like you were running away. All these different projects that they had this year, but in terms of documentary, this was a beautiful blend of the two, and I highly, highly recommend it.
And, you know, it's another one of those movies that, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like it doesn't feel very COVID-centric, it is a COVID movie, and that's something that is a sort of underlying a lot of why people are turning to spaces like this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think, you know, when you have these movies that feel like they could exist outside of the boundaries of COVID, but then also have that as an element in there, it's really interesting. I actually had this at my number 7, so that's very convenient of you to name it here. That was your number 6?
Yes.
So then we're at Amanda's number 6.
Yeah, I'm bummed that I missed virtual reality. I should have been working downstairs when you guys were inspiring out. So my number 6 is Emily the Criminal.
Yeah, okay, that is definitely coming up later. But
okay, yeah,
it is
Aubrey,
delightful.
It's delightful. Aubrey Plaza, right back at it again. Can't get a job because of a felony on her record, and this is just kind of her figuring out how to make it in a world when you literally can't get ahead. So, I guess we'll save the rest for when it comes up again.
Yeah, for sure.
Honorable mention on mine.
Cool.
So at my number 3, a movie we just watched today.
Number
3?
Oh, sorry, 6. What am I? I'm just dividing for some reason in my head.
Division.
A movie we just... No, well, there's a reason I was thinking of number 3.
Yeah, exactly. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, A Lengthening. We just caught this earlier today. I'm really glad we did. I thought it was a very beautiful portrait of a time and a place that is, you know, for many reasons lost. This is a documentary about 3 minutes of footage. 3 minutes of footage that exist of this village in Poland. It's in 1938, so right prior to a lot of the Nazi regime's extermination of Jews. And so, what you have here is kind of this, fragile moment in time on the precipice of danger, where all these people are not yet aware of the thing that's coming. And what I think is so beautiful about this film is that it's leaving a legacy of sorts for people who were unable to leave one, right? Yeah. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that film can do, is that it captures a memory of a place, of a people, of a time. And I think it's so beautifully done here in the way that they handle this archival footage, the care they take to restore it, how meticulously they go to try and recreate elements of it, from creating kind of like a panoramic view of the scenes that are happening to the 3D models and stuff, and tracking down all the different survivors. I was honestly profoundly moved by this. I went and I took a minute in the room after we watched it. But yeah, I don't know, man. I thought this was a really beautiful film, a really beautiful documentary.
I agree. Between this, Riotsville, and I'm blanking on what the other third one would have been, but just the use of archival footage and the way that they dig deep just to figure out, what does that say in the back? Is it shop? Is it grocery? Who is the person who owns this? And yeah, like you were saying, the way that they treat the footage. Having archival, 18, the one that's on Netflix right now that's trending, we're seeing a resurgence of people just at least learning about film.
Right.
Because that was one of the things that the documentary breaks down as well, was how the specific Kodachrome that they were using was able to retain the information, so that they were able to go back and do these panoramas for it. It reminded me a lot of Peter Jackson's They Shall Not Grow Old, or the way that they were able to bring the footage to life and just
restore a lot of that.
Bring things back to it. So very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we are halfway through our list, so I think we should take a little break and maybe do a little bit of a drinking game.
Okay.
I came up with this.
I was going to say, go watch a movie.
All right.
Last year when we did our Sundance coverage, we realized that, you know, when you watch 50 movies in a week, you start to see a lot of recurring things, a lot of recurring ideas, elements repeating themselves. So we're going to go around and see how long we can come up with parallels in Sundance movies.
All right.
And whoever loses, I guess, is drinking?
Sure.
Is that how it works?
Shoot.
So winning.
Yeah. No losers in
No
this
losers
battle.
today.
Yeah.
We still drink anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. All of us instinctually just take a sip.
Yeah.
So I will start us off extremely easy and point out that 2 Sundance films this year featured Regina Hall, Master and Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul. I think that should be another rule that you have to be able to
movies?
mention the films.
Oh, I agree.
Okay. Well, then to go on that, 2 have the last name Hall, and it's Rebecca Hall in Resurrection and Regina Hall and Honk for Jesus
I'll take
Save
it.
Your Soul.
I'll take it. Art?
Hey!
I guess that counts. We had 2 Dakota Johnson projects with her being in Am I Okay?
What's
and
there
then
for
also
you?
being in Cha-Cha.
My queen.
All right. We're starting to run low on the recurring actors because there was another one that I was thinking of who's in a couple. Oh.
That one guy in that one thing.
No, Nicole Bahari is in 892.
Oh, yes, she
and
is.
in Hope for
and
Jesus Save Your Soul.
Yeah, she is.
Really
She's
owning
really
those
good at both of
performances
those.
right there. Yeah.
Let's shift to the dynamic shot. There we go.
Your friend did makeup on Nanny.
Shouts to Lily Lee, a rising force in makeup and art direction, or whatever, hair.
2 projects.
She did 3. She did Nanny.
Nanny.
Yeah, wait, you have to mention the
Shit,
movie.
I almost fucking had you!
Fuck.
Shit,
You almost
what
gave
was
it
the
her.
other
I was giving
ones?
it to her.
It was Nanny,
Uh-huh.
and then...
Me and her on the dying girl.
So, it was an emergency. Yeah, it was an emergency. You stopped telling me you were in the Earl and the Dying Girl. You just quit that. God damn it.
You gotta tie
You weren't even paying attention, and I was telling you. I was like, oh, yeah, she did the makeup on Nanny and these 3 other ones.
Almost had me.
I almost had it.
What movie did we watch when it came up?
Nanny. It was Nanny.
I think... No, it was after Nanny.
Oh, it was Nanny. It was, so if it was after Nanny, oh God, this gets real hard after a while. This gets, yeah, I see what you're doing over there, and my brain still is not, oh, well, let me just look at my fucking Sundance list. Nope, this is not.
I'm even
this
forgetting
is
the movies
not-
now.
Call Jane!
This one.
It was the Nanny we were watching, though.
Yes.
It was absolutely
Wait,
the
no,
Nanny.
I don't think it was the Nanny that we were
It
watching.
was, because it was like, maybe it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was the Nanny. Was it not the Nanny that we were looking at?
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I already got it.
There was one other movie that
There
we were watching.
was.
I'm trying to
Wasn't she on Resurrection?
Was it Resurrection? I don't know.
I think she was on
Was it
Resurrection.
Resurrection?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Shouts to Lily Lee.
Okay. Either way, yeah, there you go. Nailed it.
We're to your pick.
I'll take it.
My pick?
Your doubles.
A lot of movies with archival footage, 3 minutes of lengthening, focus on that so much. Riotsville, focus on that so much. And you even had Tantura, which didn't do it from the visual side, but from the audio side with a bunch of tapes. Really interesting the way they were able to construct those stories, not just for their narrative, but to kind of rediscover stories that were lost.
Absolutely. There were 3 films that I saw that featured scenes that happened at protests. There was To the End, where there was all the environmental protests. There was Neptune Frost, where they were protesting.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And then there were Sirens, where there were protests of the government there.
That's
so,
crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got Stalkers,
Okay.
Ooh.
Watcher, Resurrection.
Yeah.
Damn, I had that as following.
Well, it's all about framing, and I like mine better.
For sure. People really loved their mothers. Cha-Cha
Yeah.
really,
Goddamn, they
he
do.
really loved his mom, and I
Did.
mean, you cannot mention Miss Donda West and not
Ah.
know that plays a crucial part as she rapped with her son.
He has not been the same.
Both Girl Picture and We Met in Virtual Reality featured songs from Perfume Genius.
Oh, yeah.
From who?
Classic.
Perfume Genius.
Yeah, of course.
Lesbians.
Wait.
You see what we're playing here? Heterosexuals.
Okay.
There was 2 movies that had straight people.
LGBTQ plus representation.
That's half the festival.
That's why I said lesbians. That's only 3 movies, and I named 2 of them.
All right, what else you got? It was my turn?
Yeah.
Chicago abortion movies. We had Call Jane. If you wanted to see that through Elizabeth Banks, or if you're more of a doc person, they had footage in the Janes.
Am I just gonna do like Call Jane and the Janes both had Jane in the name? Like,
No, we're not
are we
doing
going
that.
that?
You did it.
Hey, mine
You
was a
did
little
it.
bit more of a connection right there.
the guy who, the cinematographer for When You Finish Saving the World is the same as the cinematographer for After Yang.
Oh. Wow.
No, you're right, actually. Yeah.
I know things.
Say you didn't.
So, I don't know if this is going to count.
You can just opt out and drink.
No, okay.
It's
Emergency and Resurrection both deal with things in a laboratory in science, because her job is dealing with, like, it literally said she has some kind of, like, biology sampler job.
But do we ever visit the laboratory in Resurrection?
Did we see her wearing a lab coat? No, I'm joking, we don't even. Okay, yeah, see, that doesn't count. See, I'll drink.
All right.
I will raise your laboratory and say that there was 2 professors of color, women, in God's country, and in Master, who were dealing with buffoonery.
Buffoonery.
That is somewhat specific.
Absolutely.
They handled it completely differently.
One?
I'll say that much.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez. Okay. We're getting down to it.
I can do this all day, guys. I got 87 more.
Did you actually list these out?
No.
Oh, God. What do we have left, even?
Dos estaciones.
Stop.
I'll give it to you. What? Give me one more draw.
Wait. I was gonna...
Give me one more double to finish it out.
I don't know. Do we have an actor's things? There were several movies that were shot in 16mm, which I found very enjoyable
Called
this year.
Jane, oddly enough, was one of them.
Which is weird because that did not look like it was shot in 16
remotely.
at all. You had several movies that were shot in 4:3 ratios, which was really fun to see, especially one because we tried fixing the projector screen because Alina felt there was too much of a black bar.
Yeah.
Well, in 4:3, it's a box, so it's
It's
nothing
a
but
box,
black bars.
yeah.
We also did have plenty of volcanoes, believe it or not. It wasn't just fun. We had 2
True.
surprise volcanoes.
There were.
In Blood.
Yeah.
Oh, in Blood there were
Blood had
volcanoes?
You got
volcanoes.
to
Yeah,
see
you
it.
missed
And
it.
then we got a mention of one in Dos Estaciones.
Yeah.
So.
2 movies had robots.
What was the
After
other one?
Yang and Living.
And
Well,
also...
reportedly, allegedly,
Wait,
supposedly. We saw Living.
Brian and Charles had a
That is-
robot.
Brian and Charles had
That's
a
our
robot.
joke.
But
That's
we
just
saw
a joke.
all of Living, which is supposed to be an Akira Kurosawa
Remake.
remake. And we swore for whatever reason, not talking to
whole
each other at
time.
all, that there was a robot in Living. That he
Somebody
was an android.
on Twitter said there was a robot in Living, and Art and I read it
That
independent
same
of each
damn
other.
tweet, he's blocked.
But the whole time, it's like, so he's a cyborg, right? Like, there's something wrong, like,
We
with his
forced
process.
ourselves to believe every single time he was with a real doctor that man must have been a Best Buy employee.
I wake up the next morning, he's like, oh yeah, you watch him reboot?
Yeah, he gets rebooted at the end. But no, Living was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brett Dyer was in After Yang and Fresh. You pointed him out.
Yeah.
Who?
Brett Dyer.
Oh, Alina noted
That
that.
dude,
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's more doubles. Let us know if you have a cool Sundance double in the description down below, and maybe we'll do like a gift card giveaway or something.
Who can find the coolest double?
Yeah, I
Well, there
think-
was
you know what?
doubles
There was.
in Duel.
Yeah, that's true.
And
There
then
were
there's
doubles
doubles. Technically, I don't. One's a kind of a spoiler, but I
Yeah.
will say hatching, kind of to a
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah. So there's doubles in more than one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whoever comes up with the best Sundance double will do a $25 Criterion gift card.
Wow.
Screw it.
Hey.
Screw
fun.
you! I want it. What do I submit?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You already have a bunch.
Sheesh.
We're gonna be like scouring the liner notes for
Damn.
PA crossovers.
The PAs,
Yeah,
the caterer.
Letterboxd stats help a lot for that.
Yeah.
All right. So should we get back into the list and to our
Let's do
top
it.
fives?
I think I
Yeah.
found 2 that were both selections at the 2022 Sundance Film Festival. Yeah, let's get to it. What do we have?
We're at your number 5. Let me know.
My number 5 is yet another doc, a movie that, the same way that you were talking about Aftershock, I felt this one hit in that sense of just a bunch of history that has put a whole group down. This one's called Descendant, and it has some of the wildest scenes that are caught in the documentary this year, because it is specifically about this town in Alabama where you still have descendants of the last ship that brought in slaves. But here's the thing. That ship was brought in because it was a bet that a dude made saying, look, I know we abolished it, but I bet you $20 I could get a ship in here. It builds up to be one of the
Damn.
craziest stories.
Yeah.
Obviously, the levity is there. You don't, you know that.
Yeah.
But it is the scenarios that these descendants, not just of the people who were brought in the ship, but the people who made the ship, and how they all come together, that creates just some crazy documentation. And I think after watching this movie, and especially with a lot of the other ones, we were noticing just I guess you can call them landmarks, but pieces of land where you know that stuff needs to be dug up in order to find a lot of history that was buried on purpose. But no, this one really made a mark. Descendant.
Another double in Sundance.
Descendant, Tantura. Yeah, there's plenty. Yeah.
There you go.
We're going to come up with more for the rest of the podcast. Yeah, Descendant is a really remarkable documentary. I'm excited for more people to catch that one as well. Amanda, what do you have at your number 5?
Girl Picture.
Yeah.
Which originally is called Girls, Girls, Girls.
Much better title.
Yeah, or Girl, Girl, Girl is one of the two. Either way, way better title. Girl Picture is a terrible title. It's bad. I'm telling you here now, change your movie title before you release it. Yeah. Really good, though. This is kind of like a multi-layered, and this was my recommendation when we did the kind of like the no celebrity one for the after, is it called the Aftershow? The Aftershow is your thing called?
Oh, Aftershock.
Aftershock, yeah. And this is like a coming of age story. So there's like three girls who are kind of coming into themselves and like their sexuality and just life in general. You've got two of their best friends who have all these like really big aspirations while they're just kind of like working at a smoothie shop, which is fine. And then you've got this other girl who is dedicated like her entire life to being a figure skater, and she's like on track to being like the national championship and going to the Olympics, and just kind of how that starts colliding with what you want to do in any given moment and what you feel like you should be doing, and like the obligations you've set out for yourself your entire life and how much of that you really want, and just how that kind of blends in with other people and being afraid to love and just all sorts of like really cool like that post-adolescent coming of age vibe that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, definitely recommend.
Awesome. Yeah, Girl Picture is one of the first movies that I caught from the festival, and it's absolutely delightful. I think it's got that like just a very authentic feel to its friend group situation and the situations that they're going through. I think they have their types, but they're not caricatures.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they feel like real people, and just solid friendship. Like even when they get mad at each other, there's these moments where they can like people will explode, and then like they really bring it back in and like apologize, and a lot of personal growth happens. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
For sure. All right, my number 5 is one that Amanda already brought up. I really liked Emily the Criminal, the return of Aubrey Plaza to Sundance, and in kind of a different look for her. I think she's perhaps intentionally sort of doing a little bit of a left career, showing a maybe more dramatic side. There's a little less makeup in this role too. It's kind of like a thing that actresses end up doing, but she's really, I think, making the most of this part in showing kind of like a more down to earth type of character, and somebody who's gets caught up into this underworld of credit card fraud and finds that it kind of is her calling. I really like the process of this movie, the way that it kind of breaks down her entry into this world and her growing familiarity and rising in power, kind of. I like a movie that gives you that build and that arc, and I think it all comes together in a really satisfying way. Just a really cool, good street crime thriller, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think that this performance is better than something like she did in Black Bear?
No.
Black Bear,
it's just different.
It's so different, and I think she's giving you so much in that movie.
Yeah, that is like, sorry to cut you off. That just feels like that role was written for her. That was like, here's all the stuff people know you can do super well, but we're going to bring it to that next level, and then here's another entire range that we wouldn't necessarily have gotten you to do before, when she gets to like the crying and like to the point that it stressed her out. She was like, I am feeling dead after doing this. This is definitely more subdued, but it still feels like her, but it's a different range that you're not necessarily going to be familiar with her, but it's still like really solid performance.
Yeah, I think that Black Bear role is a really unique role, and maybe I like it a little bit more, but this is like, I think what's cool about Emily the Criminal is it's the type of role that I could see going to a lot of different people, and I think she made the most of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Reminded me of Buffalo.
Yeah,
okay,
it's like a gritty Buffalo.
Yeah, maybe not quite as quirky and fun.
And making like a joke.
But yeah. Your number 4.
My number 4 is another documentary.
Ooh.
Fire of Love, though. This one's lava.
Hey.
We're talking lava here. There was a bunch of archival footage that this couple, who are volcanologists, went around the entire world and captured all of their adventures and their research. And this documentary is a compilation not just of all of their discoveries and everything that they shot, which in and of itself is incredible. We talk about what you say. You always have the movie you just want to play in the back.
Oh yeah, exactly. You
Is
could watch
this-
it with the sound off. The aesthetics just are awesome in this film, and like, you know, I felt like I turned into a 6-year-old again watching all the lava and the explosions,
Yeah.
and you know, the red volcanoes are definitely better than gray volcanoes.
They literally say Zach was out there like it was 3D ready to touch
Yeah.
it. It looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
But it really is their love story. And
Yeah.
it's really crazy to see, you know, how they chase their passion and how one of them is really passionate about the passion and the other one's more passionate about their lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a really crazy story. It reminded me a lot of Whirlybird, which is another Sundance pick that I think is fantastic. I'd put this up there on that same level with these two. And I know National Geographic picked it up, so I believe that means it's a Disney Plus Hulu push. But if you have the chance to catch this in a theater, I would highly recommend it.
They did say they were going to give it a theatrical
They
rollout,
should
which
give
is
it an
really great.
IMAX.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would
theatrical rollout
be
because it would be framed
first
to
in
perfection.
line.
No, like there's a lot of these docs where you're like, not that they didn't know how to frame in the '60s, but frame in the '60s.
Yeah.
Near the heat, on the go,
Yeah.
to make it look so beautiful is
Insane.
some of the compositions were just fantastic.
Yeah, it is amazing, all the archival footage. Like, just to look at the archival footage would be enough, but I also think the documentary is really put together
Yeah,
interestingly.
it
It
was,
has
yeah.
this kind of dreamlike atmosphere to it. I know we're conflicted on the Miranda July
Bro, I was about to
voiceover.
say we
Yeah.
were split down
We
the
were
middle
split
on
down
that.
the
I really liked it.
We had no problem with it. It's Miranda July, director who did
Love
Kajillionaire
her.
not too
Love
many years
Kajillionaire.
ago. They wanted Werner Herzog, which surprisingly we
actually
ended
did
up
not.
getting a little bit of a Werner
Yeah.
Herzog in another movie.
But
Yeah.
he's not who I
Got a
would have
good
picked
per-
either.
Who'd you have picked?
I don't know. I actually don't know who I would have
Just not somebody so
Would you
sleepy.
have rather it not have been?
Almost, yeah.
voiceover?
I almost wish it hadn't been narrated at all. Maybe she was fun if she said something that was really funny in the way she normally talks, because then
Yeah.
it's just kind of like this deadpan delivery.
She's very dry.
Yeah, which is very fun, but it's just like she's got a very quirky voice that I don't know if I would have paired to this movie, but like, hey, if it's working for some people, so, and I love her, so like, get at it, queen.
Yeah. You had a number 4. It's my number 4 too. I thought this was great. This is my favorite documentary from the festival. I'm pretty sure it's going to end up on Oscar
Fire Love?
shortlists.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Oscar shortlists, or maybe even getting that nomination a year from now. But
Nice. Yeah, Fire Love.
I liked it a lot. I'm very excited to get a chance to watch it again. But Amanda, what's your number 4?
You know, I love a good rom-com. So Fresh is my number 4.
I'll always enjoy a romantic comedy.
The woes of the dating culture, as dating scene, it's such a struggle. The dating apps,
It can eat you up.
It can eat you up. It really can, you know. It's dick pics left and right, and just it's just cutthroat out there.
Yeah, we do know.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, this is the new Sebastian Stan and
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yeah, Daisy Edgar Jones. Really great performances out of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fan of either of them, this is not you don't have to feel bad standing for this. It's a worthy stan.
You don't have to say it's gonna be on Hulu.
There you go. You can be there you go. It's good.
In a month or 2,
Yeah.
a month and a half.
This is one that, based on what category it's in, some people might feel like it's too slow to begin with. But if you go into it knowing that it's building you into something, and then it does have its moments where it really does get to that like over the top level, and you'll get your violence, you'll get your horror, you'll get your quirky moments. So if you're someone like me who likes kind of like quirky horror comedies, and just are also okay with like rom-com style things, not necessarily rom-com, but just kind of like comedies with romantic twinges, because I'm not going to say this is like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or something, but like I think you'll like it. I had a really good time with it. A lot of people seem to be really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to check it out again.
I think I kind of had low expectations for this one, and it won me over. So I think that's maybe the best thing you can say about a movie like this is that if you don't go in expecting good things and still enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
So I said my number 4 is Fire of Love. Art, what is your number 3?
Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
Oh, we're back there. Okay.
The premiere from the Evil Twins. It was very interesting because I kept for a while I didn't think that they were actually twins. I thought one of them was fabricated because
Charlie Donald Kaufman situation.
I thought that's what was happening, but I don't know if it's the crediting or whatnot. But I know that the sisters had to split credits in terms of directing and who produced and who
That's a
wrote.
bummer.
But I don't know. I had read that it was the both of them. Nonetheless, it is a mockumentary, as we were discussing, in terms of this Southern Baptist church that ends up going to this whole scandal. And while you're following the two of them try to recoup their entire, what's it called?
Fortune.
Their fellowship.
Their
Oh,
fellowship.
fellowship,
and,
yeah.
that too. They
Fellowship, fortune.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
fellowship
That's
brings
where the
the
money comes
that's
from
why
anyway.
they want
Exactly.
it, yeah.
You kind of see their dynamics kind of break down. They don't really spell a lot out to you, but I think you kind of pick up on what the scandal is that's happening
You definitely
between the two of them. Yeah, it's very obvious. But that's where Regina Hall, I think, really shines. She has 2 performances this year. I know a lot of people love her in Master. I think she killed it in this performance.
She's so good.
The entirety of it is made up of a short that was also called Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul. And it's that specific scene in the short that in the movie, I think, without a doubt, has garnered her one of my top favorite performances of the year. It's literally the Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul.
Yeah.
I thought she did a fantastic job in it.
Like I was mentioning at the top of this recording, like we would have been rolling laughing to see this in a crowded theater. It would have been such a delight.
Yeah.
I think the movie maybe loses a little steam as it goes on, but it's still so interesting and such an interesting character study. And like you mentioned, that Regina Hall performance is unreal here. So
I don't like the mockumentary style of it. I thought it made they played with it, they made fun of it, they addressed it, and then they kind of used it to their favor, and also kind of broke it down.
Yeah.
And you'll see when you see the movie. But I thought it was very well done.
Yeah.
what was it? Y'all the silent types or something?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, now you're talking? Like, yeah.
Okay, Amanda, what is your number 3?
Mine's After Yang. And
Very
I don't know
cool.
if that's higher on
It
somebody's list.
is my number 2.
Okay. This is one I really want to catch again, for a lot of reasons, but I'm really big into movies that kind of look at like what it means to be human, and just kind of that examination. And this is one of those movies. It's this is kind of like a world where you can buy androids, and set them up and treat them like family, or just kind of have them as like you're babysitting my kid, or all this stuff. And so this main family's android malfunctions, and it's this whole movie is him trying to like get it fixed, and then kind of going through his memories and just trying to figure all these different things out and piece together this person's life, and realizing that he was a person, not just something that they like owned. It's really, really beautiful. Really beautiful.
Yeah, you mentioned how it has these memories and stuff like that. I think it does this really interesting thing in terms of how it's edited, where it'll just sort of go in and out of moments without calling attention to itself. It slips from scene to scene in this very organic way that kind of feels like recalling memories or something. Yeah. It's very beautifully done, just in terms of the production of it. It was maybe my standout from the festival because it's shot beautifully. Its vision of the future is really, really interesting. Like it's one of those films where there's all these little details, and I would have been there for an entire movie about some of these little details.
Yeah,
you know?
honestly.
So I liked it a lot. It's one that I'm excited to get a chance to revisit and really dive further into.
Yeah.
So that's why I had it at my number 2. But yeah, I think that brings me to my number 3.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you have something in the dirt on your top list
Man,
as well.
it was my number 11. It was right there.
Yeah.
It
Mine's
comes
right
from
there,
the
too.
boys that we always discuss, someone making the big jump to the Marvel side of things, and to still be able to come back and make that movie together. They've been together since day one practically, and this movie's the epitome of that.
Yeah. I found Something in the Dirt to be a really, really satisfying, scrappy little sci-fi movie. Like, this is like a dude's rock sci-fi movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so contained. This was their COVID movie, so it's just the two of them pretty much in this film. There's a couple other people who are kind of inserted in, but like it's mainly these two guys who are writers, directors, producers, and stars in this apartment dealing with the sci-fi phenomena, and that's kind of their thing, right? Like two dudes find some weird shit and look into it, but it kind of, the way it takes you down all these different rabbit holes, all these weird like conspiracies, and it gets into these existentialist ideas, I found to be really satisfying, even though it maybe slows the pace of the film down in the middle. It's the kind of tangents that I just really enjoy, and I think the writing of it is really strong. There's some elements where they kind of do some meta bits that work really well here, and I found it to be completely satisfying. It was just entertaining from start to finish for me, inventive, unexpected. This is the kind of movie that I attend festivals like Sundance hoping to find.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was really happy to have this here. It's my number 3. That brings us to Art's number 2.
My number 2 would be, they're kind of tied, dude. It can go either way. Y'all have already mentioned both of these.
Oh, yeah?
One's number 1, one's number 2, but really one's my top narrative, one's my top documentary. I'm going with Genius, a Kanye, part 1, technically. Act 1, which is Vision, which is interesting because it's Activision when you put it together. Absolutely adored it. I thought it was fantastic. I am concerned that the rest of it will not come up together, but really the only negative I could give this is that I know Kanye came out and said he wants his final approval.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what's more Kanye than that?
Right.
But in terms of Cootie and he kind of inserts himself into the doc.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too much.
Maybe a little bit too much.
And that's what I kept asking myself, and that's the only thing that keeps it away from a beautiful 5 stars just
Yeah.
on this part 1. And again, also because it's only part 1 of 3 so far. But yeah, he does bring himself in, and right before going like, I ain't signed up for a Cootie doc, he leaves.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he does reinsert him, and I don't think it's too much to kill it, and we'll see how the whole thing comes together.
Yeah.
But that would be the only gripe that I have for it thus far. If you are a Kanye fan, I mean, I think y'all already rated it. This thing has been at the top of the list for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you're not, I think that there is a lot in there just to see, I don't know, an American artist's story and how they came to be.
Mm-hmm.
He has become an icon for what, you can't really deny him that. And it's really interesting to see the early stages of it. Which
is the same as it is now. I think that's one of the best parts of part 1, is they're going like, oh, he kind of has always been like this for people who lose it within the whole trajectory of where his life would go. And I think the fact that part 1 takes so much time on just focusing before he even makes his album. That's what allows it to work so well.
It's great, and it's the deep dive that I think any Kanye nerd would want to see. It's got cameos that you would love to see in this kind of, the scene with Mos Def where they're rapping 2 words a cappella is unreal.
That's the trailer that they pushed out. That's all they needed to get out.
That's it.
Scarface showing up at the studio at the end, it gives you chills.
Yeah, there's moments I don't want to spoil it that deals with All Falls Down, but I cannot believe that's how it went down. That's all I'll say. But I'm very excited to catch part 1 in theaters because I think that's the only thing they're going to showcase in theaters. I want to see it there just to see the mix on what they do with the songs and how it was recording them. But I know that they're doing a weekly rollout starting in February on Netflix, and I hope they don't change it too much. But if they need to, I hope it's to make it longer.
Yeah,
and to make the rest of it fit.
Exactly. Yeah, that we all have that same concern that like we could watch something that goes this in depth to like basically every album.
Yeah.
And then it would be a 12-part documentary, not a 3-part one.
But you know what?
Jordan's is 10.
Exactly right.
There you go.
No, I'm just saying.
I left this one off of my top 10 because it's only the part 1, but
I'm giving them what they're giving me, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to give part 1 is that.
It might have been number 1 for me if under different circumstances.
Gotcha.
It's really, really great.
Nice.
Okay, Amanda, what is your number 2?
Am I okay? My number 2 is Am I Okay? Dakota Johnson, number 1 time. This is, again, one of these post-adolescent, coming-of-age type stories. You got 2 best friends, one who really seems to have her shit together. She's top of her career, getting a chance to open a branch somewhere else. And then you've got this other friend, who's Dakota Johnson's character, who isn't fully codependent on her, but there's a lot of, like, they're very attached, close friends. And she is kind of coming into the realization that she is gay and has been trying, and she's like 32, and she's just been something she's been trying to push off until finally it's like, I can't ignore this anymore, so now I have to try to actually figure it out. But she's a very like nervous, more subdued type person, and it's just kind of working at coming out of her shell. There's some like really awkward moments of like what happens when you realize you're gay and you have to try to make those connections for the first time. Like, who do you reach out to? How do you deal with that? And it's just, I don't know, it was really charming. It felt really innocent, and then like at its core, it really is just that relationship between the 2 friends. It's a really just solid friend movie with 2 people kind of dealing with like different aspects of their life and how they like relate to one another. And yeah, I liked it a lot. It's very sweet.
Very good cast in this one too. I was really happy to see Jermaine Fowler and Christy Clemens and Molly Gordon all show up.
Yeah, oh my God, when Molly Gordon's name popped up on the screen, our whole theater downstairs.
Molly Gordon!
The Sonoya been in
Devs and Ex Machina.
Yeah. I thought she was fantastic in this. I mean,
she was.
Because we've seen her literally play a humanoid. She has been in. She's literally played robots.
Yeah.
the performance that she puts in this one, I thought she had some really good banter going on with Dakota Johnson and
like. I clocked it right away. I was like, "That's
dude,
not a good."
She's also in
even
La
Alita. Oh
in La La Land.
Yeah.
With dancing, so it's like just to see how wide ranging.
That's the thing. It's a very different. I think we've seen. While Dakota's really fun in this, I've seen that move or that vibe from Dakota.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Sonoya Mizuno do something, so it's really cool.
Yeah, to do that.
Yeah. All right, so I think because I already mentioned my number 2 is After Yang.
Yeah.
We're at Art's number 1.
My number 1
of Sundance. Oh, should we get to honorable mentions before we get into
Let's
number 1?
do some honorable mentions.
Yeah, my number 2 is After Yang, just to clarify that.
And my number 2 would have been Genius. My number 1, Doc.
Yeah. So what are your honorable mentions from Sundance?
Your number 2 is Am I Okay? Some of the ones that we have not mentioned so far here. I think you mentioned Annie.
No, I haven't.
No one mentioned Annie, but it's very good.
I'll have Yul talk about it because I thought it was good, but I think you guys liked it a little bit more than I did.
Nanny is just one of those, it's really gut-wrenching. You've got somebody who is working so hard to kind of send money back to her family in Senegal. And she's a nanny, obviously, for this family. So her job to try to take care of her own kid is to take care of someone else's kid. And then there's this weird dynamic with the family where the mom's really flighty, the dad's kind of checked out. She never knows when she's getting paid, and they think it's just okay not to pay her for like weeks at a time.
Yeah, there's this consistent lack of respect for just her personhood.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then it just kind of turns into like this horror story as like different aspects of like her culture start kind of rolling into what her life is, and then it just ends on this gut punch. It's an absolute gut punch of an ending that I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. But it's I feel like for a bit I feel like some people weren't appreciating it, but I've noticed the reviews have started going up and up, so I think the right crowd is seeing it and people are actually willing to look into what the story is trying to do.
Exactly, because it's not the most penetrable lore or like it's got some folklore elements that are a bit like I feel like an outsider watching them, which is fair given that it's also a movie about an outsider. But I think so much of this movie is so striking, and I think the emotions are really present there. The cinematography is unreal in this. There's some shots in this one. I also really liked Ana Diop in the lead performance.
She was great.
I guess some of the other horror ones that I would say, because I think this year was just really good for horror.
It was.
The Watcher continues to have Micah.
Yeah, that's one.
Followed by people who should not be following her. And I will say that while it was a pretty slow burn, I really liked the way that was built up. Speaking of Devs, that would have been the boyfriend from Devs who plays her husband here. I thought it was a beautifully shot movie that's paced very tensely. And to me, it never became redundant. I actually really like what it built up to, so I would highly recommend Watcher if you want to see it.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. I also think it kind of puts you in this position where you start questioning what she's seeing, whether or not what she's interpreting, or if she's doing things that, because every once in a while something would happen, not to blame her, but I was just kind of like, if this person is actually stalking you, you just did the worst possible thing you could have done in this situation, and it's still not on you if anything happens.
Right.
But it's just like, it just sets off like alarm bells in your head when certain things happen, and then you're just kind of waiting to see, like, is this happening? Like what is it building up to in its conclusion? And I really do think that it like nails the ending.
One day Michael will be able to just sit down.
Yeah, big fan of Michael.
But there was a whole run of Hatching, which I thought had some of the best prosthetics, and I really love the story there between the mom and the daughter. Speak No Evil, which y'all haven't caught yet, but I can't wait for y'all to. That is another one dealing with a family who meets up with another couple, and let's just say they were hanging out together the same way we were hanging out, but they don't like each other the same way we like each other. Again, another one with parents needing to learn how to say no. But I think one that's also on your list would be You Won't Be Alone.
Yeah, I really like this one. Focus Features' is film, distributed by Focus Features, presented by
Are we sure it was Focus Features?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell from the watermark.
You couldn't focus on the feature because of
the Focus Feature. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I thought this was a really interesting kind of different approach to a witch tale.
Yeah, and again, what it means to be human type
yeah.
Or what it means to exist, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
I keep resorting back to the thing that I read on Twitter, that this is Terrence Malick's version of an A24 film.
Yeah.
Because it's, it takes the story of a witch who is able to sort of transform from body to body, or like occupy different bodies. And it's instead of it being about the horror of that and that setup, it's about her discovering the world through these different
the horror
people.
of not being touched before.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of beautiful.
It's kind of interesting.
Again, another film that's just about life and what it means to be alive, but handling it from a different perspective. I thought it was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
It's such a weird bag that I didn't get into it right away, and by the end I was really taken with it. I want to visit again, kind of knowing where it's going.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been our first one in the morning when people are walking around getting coffee, making breakfast. So being like, "What did that just happen?" Yeah, and then like we all just kind of slowly got more immersed as it was going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was solid. And then the two that one brought me to tears practically. It's the only one of the fest that did it. House Made of Splinters, a very sad documentary. When it says orphanage in the summary, best believe it. And Happening, that one will be coming out in May. I know that won the Golden Lion at Venice. I know it may also be shortlisted for an Oscar, if I'm not mistaken, for international.
I don't know.
Maybe it's not, but nonetheless, I would put it on your radar. Another one that was a difficult watch, but really, really good.
Awesome. Any honorable mentions, Amanda?
Yeah, Malte
the Brazilian film.
Yeah, it was really good. It's just kind of how this family's operating and different goals kind of framed around like the son wants to be on the first Mars One exploration mission, but it just everybody in the family kind of has a different dynamic. So you kind of follow the father when he's at work and the mother thinking that she's cursed. And it's for good reason, and then like the daughter kind of like getting into her own life and establishing independence, and then the son trying to like express to his father that he doesn't want to do the thing his father has set up for him so much. And I thought it was just like a really nice story of this family, and it ends really beautifully. It's like there's so much different conflict amongst the family, and it really goes to like really extreme levels in what this family kind of has to go through, but then it just ends in a really tender way. So I like that one. Duel was fun. I gotta look at that quick to make sure. Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving anything away, but yeah, it's basically this movie where if you are like terminally ill or dying, you can have a duplicate of yourself made so that your family doesn't have to deal with you not living.
Very movie.
Riley, a lot writing on that one.
I like Riley Stearns a lot, and I think he does this interesting thing with his dialogue that's kind of this Yorgos Lanthimos esque stilted.
It's more Eisenberg than anything.
They all sound like robots. They sound especially in this
because you strip the emotion out of it to try and
analytical.
You try to like make it sound like by taking all the emotion out of it. I think you can highlight the absurdity of certain interactions, which is weird in this alternate reality kind of setup. But I think it was inventive and interesting enough and funny enough that this is definitely one that I had in my honorable mentions.
You don't got it higher than Fault or
Self-Defense,
right?
I preferred those two.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I like this,
I think this needed something different in the ending. Something happens towards the end, and I was like, for real? Homie. Really? But
for sure.
Other than that, real good. 892 was another one I really liked. Hit emotionally. It's dealing with a real life story that I didn't realize until the end, but it's a veteran who's been denied his $892 from the VA and kind of goes to rob a bank. And it's not because he wants the bank's money. He wants to make a statement. He wants the money. He wants the money that he's owed. That's his money. And it's really heartbreaking, but very incredible, like really great performance from everybody that's in that bank. John Boyega, and I'm totally blanking on her name, Nicole Bahari.
Bahari
and then the girl who's in Orange is the New Black was also great. But yeah, really stand-up performances from like it's very low performances. Who's the
Michael K. Williams.
Him. Yeah. He's always great. He's always fantastic. Just really great performances, really kind of like gut-wrenching experience. That's definitely in my honorable mentions. And then I think Art's mentioned everything else, and I think one of my other ones is going to be on your list. So
Cool. We've mentioned a lot of my honorable mentions. I don't think we have yet mentioned these two documentaries. Tantura, which is a really compelling collection of interviews and testimonies about a period that many people have chosen to not look at and not spend time revisiting. It's one of the most interesting films about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict I've ever seen. Moving, emotional, very, very vital. It speaks to so much of the frustration around even discussing what happened in some of these situations.
Great Saturday morning.
Yeah, great way to start your morning.
Yeah.
So I thought Tentura was excellent, and I also really loved Territory. Film we was on our radar because it's produced by Darren Aronofsky. I think what's really cool about this is the way that it takes you into these indigenous communities, and the film is actually like kind of co-produced by these indigenous communities, so you're able to really get like the inside perspective and seeing how they deal with this increasing threat to their lands, to these sacred Amazon protected forests, rainforests. It's really stunning to see how they are able to try to stave off this threat.
And Time picked this one up too, so you know that they're gonna have a good release for it because it was shot beautifully. And also shot by the people there. They have all their equipment. That was one of the things that really resonated with us.
Yeah. A really, really interesting documentary. So one of my favorites from the festival. But should we get to our favorite film?
Yeah.
Mine is After Yang, which was brought up with these two
Okay.
here. Kogonada had one of my favorites in Columbus just a few years back when we probably came to our first Sundance, if not our second Sundance. Loved that movie. Loved Haley Lou Richardson in it. She's back over here. Again, along with Colin Farrell. They broke down the plot. It's just a very interesting way of looking at a family grieve over, I guess, a product that they purchased, but with the pockets that they get into, very, AI-centric, this idea of like Detroit with the game on these machines that you buy, how much rights do they have, at what point does it maybe reach consciousness, and then decides that's not really the important part. We're not Westworld over here, and it really focuses in on the family. It is beautifully shot, like you put it. I love when you set yourself in the future, create all the technology, and then just do this with it, because that's how you touch the technology that you have in your everyday lives. There's so much to dig deep into this movie. I want to know the characters more. There's a whole damn dance competition the movie begins with.
I love that so
Barely
much.
touched on.
Barely touched on.
Because it's literally just to establish that, like, there's something wrong. He's not stopping dancing. He's going.
No, I absolutely adored this movie.
Yeah.
I heard that there is a different cut. Maybe that could just be...
it was longer at
multiple
Collins
people.
or whatever
Yeah,
else.
they're saying that it was 101 minutes at
But we
Con,
haven't
and
heard
it's like
exactly
90
what's
something
cut
here.
yet. I want more. I don't give a damn. This was beautiful. I thought it was
probably be a
fantastic.
director's cut then.
The whole cast and crew is really great in it, and I can't wait to see more about it. I've heard very little discussions from Kogonada so far because I know it's based off of a story, and between this and the Kanye doc, I got 2 4.5s already, and on rewatches they may both be 5s. So it's a really good beginning of the year.
Yeah, really good.
Very, very strong movie. There's a good reason that it's on all 3 of our lists.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, Amanda, you're number 1.
Well, you already have it pulled up there because I'm predictable. Cha-cha, real smooth. I don't know what it was about this movie specifically, but this hit me so hard. Like, it had me, and then there's this conversation between Cooper Raiff's character and Dakota Johnson's character, Domino.
Yeah.
And they're just talking about depression and, like, whether or not, like, what it means to be happy and the last time they remembered being happy and different things like that. And it was just so genuine and honest, and that I started crying there, and then I just kept going. If Shithouse was his, like, I'm going off to college and I miss my mom, this is I've graduated college and I love my mom, And it's just like trying to process what do you do once you graduate? It's like trying to figure out what you do for a career. And I think it's kind of described as like he's spent so much time, he's the party starter for everyone else, doesn't know how to be the party starter for himself type thing, until he kind of figures his shit out. And I just really also, so his performance is great. I definitely think it's better than in Shithouse. You can just, from then to now, you just see how much he's improved. And I thought this was like a really good role for Dakota Johnson. Like, this was kind of a little bit different from her normal wheelhouse, because she's like basically kind of a single mom, but not really. But so just, I don't know. It was like very good. I don't know, when I went into it, I expected her to kind of be a different character than she was. But yeah, this just hit me emotionally on so many levels. I'm so excited to see it again. It charmed the hell out of me. He's a very honest person. I think that's kind of what we've established. The way he tells his movies feels so genuine and honest that it stops it from being cringe.
Yeah.
It stops it from
I
feeling
think it's because
too
he
sentimental.
embraces it. It's not that it stops from being cringe. It's that he has
so
no
honest.
problem stopping there or making it weird. He goes so fully into it. He's like, I know you've felt this awkward emotion. So I know that you have also been in the position of saying something you didn't really mean, but you can't take it back. It's out there.
Exactly.
I know it's cringy how much I love my mom, but guys, I really
love my mom. Yeah.
So he just doubles down on it.
Yeah, and that sweetness is also kind of paired with a little bit of meanness in parts too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think just like a realistic amount that also keeps them from being like.
So like Brady Bunch or whatever.
Exactly.
You know?
Like you have to have a little bit of nastiness to make the lighter moments feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, so
good. All right. So my number one of Sundance. It's honestly hard for me to just pick one movie because like you were saying, I feel like I have so many like 4-star films from this festival, and I kind of have everything that's in my top 7 is sort of on a tier. I don't know if I want to put this one necessarily higher than the rest.
Dude, it's summering. Go for it. Like,
James Bond sold? No. And it would be very helpful if I could find it in this list on Letterboxd. But, I'll just keep scrolling it while I talk about it. It's Jesse Eisenberg's When You Finish Saving the World. There we go. It's got the title in big letters. You figure it'd be easier for me to find it. When You Finish Saving the World. I don't know, man. I thought this was... we started our festival off with this one, and it kind of filled me with electricity. You were talking about how you just had like an emotional response to having an emotional response again.
Yeah.
And like I kind of had a little bit of that with this movie where it was just so exciting to get a new to see a movie for the first time with unaffected by other people's reviews and just really respond to it aesthetically, really respond to what the story is trying to communicate. I thought it was a very unique perspective on a modern type of narcissism that, it's maybe kind of like a light narcissism, and even if the characters that they're depicting are heavy, leaning into that aspect, it's something that resonates throughout society. I think everybody can kind of feel like they maybe have a little bit of that narcissism in them in different respects, even if it's not crippling them the way that it does the central mother-son relationship in this. I thought it was really charming, really thoughtful, funny in parts too. The performances from Julianne Moore and Phil Wolfhard are really, really good here. And what we've talked about in our little review of it is that it kind of ends in this really sweet, perfect place.
It does,
and I love when a movie can tie the bow around it like that, and it just sort of, it felt kind of like a perfect little package. I was like pacing the room when we saw this. I was so excited.
You're ready to watch it again.
Yeah.
You're ready to skip everything.
Yeah.
I have it as my number 12. I had it really high up as well. Still stuck in there and being in my top 15, but unlike a couple of the other ones, like Leonor ended up staying there, was a little stronger for me. But this is one where I want to sit with the book because now in retrospect and when I think about it, I was like, I feel like I'm still missing the other thirds of the story, and I'm curious to see how that builds up because the story that we get here is just like the third part of the audiobook. So I'm curious to see how much more that expands all his vocabulary too, because I know Terra Lift was something that he invented that he believes the kiddos would be saying in 2032.
I think usually when a movie tries to invent fake slang, it doesn't really work for me.
It worked for his character.
It worked for his character.
The man's wearing his own merch on his beanie, on his shirt.
Yeah.
So it's like he's almost trying to pitch his own slang.
Exactly.
It's not caught on. He's trying to make it.
It's literally like stop trying to make fetch happen. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Except fetch caught on.
So.
Yeah.
I love it.
Really great movie. I was a little disappointed to see that it got a bit of a divided reaction, but you can't win everybody over.
I do like it. Like I said, for me, it's just certain aspects went too far where I was just kind of like, no.
But you were still positive on it. There was a bunch of people who are negative on it, which I was.
People hate it.
I was so electric after seeing that, and I immediately go to Letterboxd and it's like, what? I thought it was a really strong Sundance. Ricky in the comments below asked us what we thought of it being digital again. I mean, we had a fun time with it.
Great.
You can kind of fit in more in less time. Like usually Sundance itself runs until like
you physically don't have to run somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a charm to waiting in the lines and going to the theaters, but like there's also a charm to waking up and making coffee while it's playing on a screen and having a theater room and being able to like get other work done in between things.
And not having to travel to Sundance. Not everybody has the ability to come all the way over here, taking the time out and all that. It's already enough for some people to catch it as screeners.
Yeah.
So I love the ability that people are able to watch it.
Yep, absolutely.
I think we all hope that the festival will at least stay hybrid.
Yeah.
Our original plan, we're obviously in Utah because we plan to do this in person. But even though we plan to do it in person, we plan to have a couple days
Yeah, we did.
where we didn't go in
had tickets
person.
ready to purchase.
Exactly.
We had our
Specific
plans.
showings,
Yeah.
But we also, we liked the idea of doing a couple days in person and then a couple days digital because it gets hard to do it in person after day, and you can fit in so much doing it digitally the way that we do.
Yeah. Or just switch things around on a whim. Like, I don't feel like watching a really heavy doc right now. Let's swap to something else, you know?
Yeah.
The hybrid thing is cool because not just of the accessibility, but the fact that you have more movies that will get the chance. And it doesn't get rid of theatrical showings.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people's worry is that if you give people the option, they're only going to go one way. I think we've had several movies that have come out in the last blockbuster year that prove that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And with these as well, I think stuff would have sold out. They were kind of already selling out for some of the showings. And especially, with the COVID and cutting it in half, people would have still gone to the theater. And I think some people are worried that the hybrid model takes that away. I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either. I think Sundance had the perfect idea before where it would be, you have your premiere screening.
In person first.
And then the next day it's available digitally. Like,
That's
beautiful.
so good. Yeah, it would have been great.
Yeah.
Hopefully they just go right back to that next year, And we were also talking about whether or not this will continue into the future. My point to you before was like, Sundance had to do this shift 13 days before the festival started.
Yeah.
And if they didn't already have the infrastructure to have a digital festival, it might have been a disaster.
Yep.
It might just be the smart move for these festivals to have a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We hope it can continue digitally, even though it's really fun to be in person. And
It is.
I did miss that a little bit too, even though this was a really great experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the festival awards will be out tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain, is it?
Mm-hmm. And then 2 hours later, right at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, all of those awards that are announced will be in a schedule, and you'll be able to purchase those tickets.
So I don't know if either of you had any thoughts on what might win the big categories here. We have them broken down into the different sections, including some special jury prizes, although a lot of this stuff changes year to year, so we'll see what they ultimately end up selecting. I think the thing that we all feel most confident in, oddly enough, is the big prize of the festival. It's the big sale to Apple already.
Yeah, it's Cha-Cha,
Last
baby!
year, Coda was the
Coda.
big sell to Apple. They won both the audience and the U.S. Dramatic Grand Jury Prize. I'm really rooting for Cha-Cha there. I think that out of all the ones that the U.S. Dramatic has, Cha-Cha is the one to take it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it comes close to anything else. I mean, there's a chance that maybe with Emergency,
I could see it.
maybe getting like the audience one, but
Yeah.
I think Cha-Cha captured the hearts of a lot of people who were watching online.
I think it resonates with a lot of people, just what it's about,
I think they definitely are going to have the
And there's
spot there.
there's this developing Cooper Rafe hive out there
I
too.
am shocked at how much I love that man for not having anything in common with him.
Yeah. Connor is asking, is After Yang eligible for any of the awards? I don't believe so.
I don't think
Premiered
so
at
because
Con.
it's a spotlight. So the spotlight is usually a handful of movies that have premiered elsewhere that they want to play here.
Yeah.
But it could get like a special prize if
Didn't
I'm not
it
mistaken.
get the Alfred Sloan Award?
After Yang did get the Alfred P. Sloan Award, which previously has gone to movies like Tesla, Searching, and that's really like a scientific award. So out of all the ones that we've seen, there could have been some other good choices. After Yang's also my favorite, obviously I think it's a good one for it to go to.
Yeah.
I love those Alfred P. Sloans usually. Searching was also a number one for me. So it is possible to get a special jury prize. Which means that After Yang will be playing because there is an Alfred P. Sloan slot. Mm-hmm. So you do have a chance, but it won't be for these kind of big awards that you see that Zach has up right now.
Yeah. What about the U.S. documentary competition? You and I caught a lot of these.
Okay, what do you think is going to be the juries and what do you think is going to be the audiences? To me, I think it's down to Fire of Love and Descendant. I'm going to be honest with you.
I see that too. I feel like Fire of Love for sure is probably the audience award, although the audience award sometimes goes in weird directions.
It can.
But I think the audience award tends to go to the ones that aren't huge issue documentaries, right? And this is one that is kind of just a delight, even though it ends in tragedy.
There is a chance Aftershock or Jihad Rehab could get it. We have not seen Jihad.
Been hearing great things about Jihad Rehab.
I would not mind Aftershock getting it either, but right now my money's on Descendant and Fire of Love. Either splitting or going somewhere, but we'll see. Many times we are surprised.
Yeah. World Cinema Dramatic. Can you read some of the films from that category and some of the things that we think might be in contention?
Some of our favorites right now would be You Won't Be Alone or Leonor Will Never Die.
Mm-hmm.
Brian and Charles Need to Stay at Home. Dos Estaciones is pretty decent. But I know you guys are rooting for either Girl Picture or Marte So this, honestly, to me, this is one of the most open ones because they
think
really
so.
go anywhere depending on what they resonated with the most.
Yeah.
I want Leonor.
Yeah,
I
would
would
see it.
something. Dude.
I have to see it.
Anything.
I actually would pick Leonor from the options you just listed
Nice.
out. Although I liked You Won't Be Home.
You Won't Be Alone.
You Won't Be Alone
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I wonder if that it already has focus features is maybe a hindrance, or maybe it's not.
That doesn't
I feel like sometimes is, but I don't know. I think Leonor would be a really cute one to see. Las Estaciones, I thought was also a pretty decent movie. But
I also think that Leonor is probably a better pick in the audience award because it's so delightful.
but
That or maybe
enough
Girl
people
Picture.
See it,
Yeah.
and that's where it really comes down to.
Yeah.
Because again, Klondike and Utama and even Marte which you guys did see, are all movies that have also been getting a lot of similar buzz in terms of that category.
All right, so we got World Cinema Documentary. A lot of tearjerkers in this category.
Man. This is the one that has a house made of splinters, that orphanage dog that I told you that's pretty sad. I had just begun All That Breathes. It's literally about how the pollution is so bad, and these dudes take care of birds.
Dope.
Yeah.
That sounds
That's crazy.
Crazy.
like a great time.
Zach was talking about The Territory and Tantura, two movies that, rightfully so. If those get announced, I'm not going to bat an eye.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to end the festival here as a group. We keep making this joke that we're in our final movie. Then there's only 20 more. But our final one is going to be The Mission. Which is about Mormons going over, I believe, to Finland, if I'm not mistaken. So that one could even be it. But my money's on We Met in Virtual Reality. I think that this one does a lot of very interesting things in terms of not only the way that it's shot, the stories that it's covering, but I think he has some really good direction in this, and I think it would be really cool to award this one because it's only world because it's in the UK, but technically it's not even in the world, it's virtual. It's in the virtual world, which is a big part of what the movie breaks down.
Yeah, I think We Met in
Anything
Virtual
to take this
Reality
trip.
feels like a front runner for audience because, again, a lot of these are very tough documentaries, and that is just like mostly pleasant, even though there's some sad
People
stuff
can
in
relate
it.
to it,
People can relate to
But
it.
the jury, dude,
The
you
jury,
could pick any of these.
yeah, the jury could really pick any single one
Even
of
Nothing
those.
Compares, you ended up liking Nothing Compares.
I liked
the
Nothing Compares,
Sinead
too.
O'Connor doc, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Tantura and The Territory because I feel like that maybe one of those three between those two in virtual reality.
Territory. I think it's Territory.
You think it's Territory?
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. It's tough. It's gonna be a competitive category for sure.
Oh yeah, other random, just Navalny.
And that just came out.
That-
Yeah.
that was
Well, is it a
actually-
special screening or is
Well,
that?
the thing is that is considered a premiere doc.
Okay.
So because it's a premiere doc, I'm not exactly sure what
It's
it can
excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because at that point, that
I meant to
also
mention that.
opens up Genius. It also opens up
Mm-hmm. True.
La Guerra Civil and all of these other things. So I don't think the premieres necessarily.
Yeah. I just wanted to
are
mention
for
it too,
but-
just because we hadn't, and
Mhm.
because it's like we watched that, then started this, but like really good.
Yeah. Any other prizes that you wanted to talk about, or you think might happen? Maybe the next Innovator Award.
So the next Innovator Award was interesting because this is a category that's, there's a joke for it. It's either it's next because they're doing the next thing that's up, or it's next because you watch this movie and you're like, next!
Yeah.
Gotta move on to the next one. 4 of these were docs, bro.
Oh, wow.
And you were really
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah, because the next category could be anything. It's
Yeah,
just
it
a
can.
different type of storytelling.
Yeah.
I like to call it the double IPAs of the movie industry. And we had something in the dirt, which I think you and I are cheering
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
But there was the hybrid docs, like Mija. There was the hybrid, well, not really hybrid, but archival docs, experimental with Riotsville. We're still missing a couple here, but I hope it goes with something in the dirt.
I'd go with
Yeah.
something in there.
I mean, I don't know. It's very clear for me that was the one that was a clear standout in terms of the next innovator. But
Yeah.
they really like to look at who did something very, very, very different. And Riotsville was kind of interesting in that aspect.
Yeah,
And
I
I know you
mean-
got a little of the Cathedral, which just focused on items.
Right.
But that could be something they love too.
Yeah, this was maybe not the most daring next selections that we've seen
Yeah,
in
no, I
Sundance.
noticed that. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah. In fact, like if We Met in Virtual Reality was actually next, it might have a better shot in here than some of the other ones we saw.
I guess just some of the side ones. I will say that in terms of cinematography, I thought it was really cool that there was a. I don't think you'd be the biggest fan of it, but Blood had some really interesting cinematography that I thought
Yeah.
looked beautiful. I would love to see that one maybe get a nomination. I had one for editing that I really enjoyed, and I can't remember which one
Yeah.
it was, because I believe once you get into directing, screenwriting, editing, and cinematography, those can come from whatever group.
Yeah.
So I'll have a more in-depth list
Yeah.
later on, but out of the big awards, I'm hoping that they're able to divide them. I don't want anything to really sweep, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we're just really excited for the special prizes because we always just love when it's a special jury award for watching a movie at home in VR.
For auteurist filmmaking.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. It's always exciting to see where the juries end up. It'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll comment it on a little bit. We're still going to do our Sundance recap video, hopefully Monday. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly it. I mean, how have you felt about your Sundance experience where we're coming to an end?
Really good. Like, not that it's coming to an end necessarily, but I saw some really great movies. I'm really happy. You know, I like again, like I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I'm really excited to watch again, which is always a great feeling.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm happy this
We
year.
put several of them on. You were ready to watch But you were watching Genius again.
I was doing some cooking, so we rewatched Genius.
Hell, you were watching the robot Charles and Brian too. So yeah, no, I think that we have a really good lineup that came out with it, and I love the fact that it continues to show Sundance. Last year, they had quadrupled their viewers, and I just want them to see that this is a model that can continue to be there, even if you have to have some premieres just be theatrical.
Yeah.
That you could still have so many of these smaller movies. It does become a two-edged sword, and you know, are they only going to be virtual? But I think people end up finding them, and I think that's the best part of this festival.
Yeah. A lot of great stuff. I felt really energized being here, especially with you guys, and like just it's fun to watch these movies. It's fun to be able to discuss them and everything. So it was a pleasure. Hopefully we can keep doing stuff like this. But
It was the last one, bro. It was
yeah, good to go out on a good one though. But I guess that's just about all for this edition of Intercut. Thanks for hanging with us if you caught the stream. If not, hopefully you caught us later in the week. We'll be back next week with some more Sundance thoughts. I don't have my full outro here, so I'll just say follow Amanda. You know where to find her, Amanda the Jedi stuff. You know where to find Art at Let Me Explain Stuff. I'm Zach Shevich. I'll have all that stuff in the description down below. Keep watching Intercut. And until next time, we'll see you at another hybrid.
Let's go.